I added Sumo Springs Blue to the back of my Silverado 1500, and I want to explain to you why I chose Sumo Springs over the Timbrens and also over airbags. So stick around if you're interested in finding out. Roll the intro! Alright guys, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about why I chose the Sumo Springs over the Timbrens. And it really comes down to the right tool for the job. So my truck, whenever I'm towing my trailer, all the axles, everything's good. All the axle weights, all that stuff is in good shape. But my rear end was wandering around just a little bit still whenever I was under load. And so I was investigating all the different options out there, and I had a few requirements that I wanted to meet. I wanted something I could set and forget, that I didn't have to fiddle with. I didn't have to rely on airlines or pumps or anything else. I wanted a really simple solution, and that really led me down to just a couple of different options. You could either do an add-a-leaf, like a super spring, or an add-a-leaf spring or something like that, or you could do a Timbren, Aeon Timbren spring, which is a rubber spring. And then there was also airbags, which I already kind of struck off the list. And finally we had these Sumo Springs. And so I specifically, looking at those options, really the add-a-leaf, the Sumo Spring, and the Timbren met my set it and forget it kind of standard. And so after that, what I did is I started looking at the capabilities of all the different things. To install an add-a-leaf, there's a couple different ways you can do it. You could go to a spring shop and have the spring shop actually disassemble your spring pack and add in an extra leaf. Or you can do one of the bolt-on add-a-leaves that you can get from the parts store, or something like that. I didn't really want to do the bolt-on thing, and I didn't really want to disassemble the spring pack on the truck. So that left me two options, which are the Timbrens and the Sumo Springs. And looking at the two, they're really kind of similar in their design and how they function. So I was trying to just delineate down which one would be the best option. And for my pickup truck, Sumo Spring made two options. They made Sumo Spring Blue, which are rated at 1,000 pounds at 50% compression. And they made Sumo Spring Black, which are rated at 1,500 pounds at 50% compression. The Timbrens were rated somewhere like 8,000 pounds. I'll put the real number right here. So it's way overkill for what I needed. And then I got to kind of looking on the websites, and the last thing that kind of pushed me over the edge to buy the Sumo Springs was just kind of how Timbren's website set up. Whenever they're talking about the Sumo Springs, they lie. I feel like they lie about the Sumo Springs. They make a statement that the Sumo Springs are not durable, which are complete fabrication, as best I can tell. I asked Timbren to explain why they say the Sumo Springs are not durable. They make a big deal about them being foam, which I guess if you just say foam, you think like packing foam. That's not the kind of foam that this is. This is a very durable, good, firm foam that works as advertised. They said something about a certain number of compression cycles, and they saw them fail. I don't know where they got that information from. They didn't publish the test results. They didn't publish the conditions of the test. They didn't say if they went to 100% compression. So that just put a little sour taste in my mouth towards Timbren as the company. Hey guys, Editing Germ here. I wanted to jump in the video here because I went and found my interaction between Timbren and myself. It was on YouTube on one of their videos. I want to drop in a couple screenshots somewhere around here so you can see what their response is. Basically what they said is they tested it with a moderate bump for 50,000 cycles. So they did make a couple claims that they put on my reply. I've not found these results published anywhere officially. So if anybody knows if they're published officially, I would really like that. I know that this did put a bit of a sour taste in my mouth. I say that in this video. I would really like for people to compete fairly
and make statements like their durability in a way they can prove it, and document it and publish that, instead of just making a screenshot or a statement on their website that they're more durable. I'd really like to see them, Timbren, step up and publish the test results and show us why they're more durable. If you notice on my little a screenshot that I put back here, it was a screenshot of Timbren's website where they talk about other competitors and how they're more durable, progressive rates, that sort of thing. I would really like for Timbren to do more than just put up a chart. I'd like for them to put up actual test results, and it would be great if it was independent, but I know independent tests cost a lot of money. So if you guys can show us the failed Sumo Springs at 50,000 cycles, along with giving Sumo Springs an opportunity to respond, I think that would be really good for the community.
But the last thing was really the application. That's the most important thing. And the Sumo Spring 1000, I just needed a little bit of extra help to stabilize the rear end, and the Sumo Springs were perfect. So that's why I ultimately went with them. The Timbrens are a great product. There's a lot of really pleased customers, and if you're going to be towing a really heavy fifth wheel, like with over 5,000 pounds of tongue weight, then the Timbrens are probably going to be a great option. Or if you're towing a truck bed camper, Timbrens are a great option. I had another requirement to make sure that whenever the truck was empty, that the ride was basically unaffected. And with the Sumo Springs, I was able to accomplish that. I'll turn you around here in just a second, and we'll be able to see the Sumo Springs. But basically, my truck is a two-wheel drive, and so whenever you get your Sumo Springs, they come with a spacer. So you put the spacer on and the longer bolt. If you have a four-wheel drive, or if you have a two-wheel drive, you leave the spacer out. And basically there's a gap between the Sumo Spring and it's basically replacing the bump stop. So you take the bump stop out, you put the Sumo Spring up, you attach it inside. It takes more time to pull out the tools than it did for me to change the Sumo Spring, put the Sumo Springs in. And basically whenever I'm empty, running around empty, there's nothing, no impact to the ride whatsoever. But whenever I'm loaded, the truck still, the rear end still squats a little bit, because you have to get about an inch and a half before your Sumo Springs engage with the rear axle. One thing I wanted to mention is spacing. The reason you want to either use the spacer or not use the spacer is you want to set your, and this is true for either Timbren or Sumo Springs, you want a gap between the spring and the rear axle. You need to ensure that you maintain that spring or that space. So you're going to need to make sure that you have about an inch. Make sure you have at least that amount of space between the axle and the Sumo Spring whenever you get through installing. If not, you may need to take it off. I don't know if you can cut one of the ribs off of the Sumo Spring. If you can't get that, I would call Sumo Spring and ask them if you need to do that, or need to make some additional space. I think that they, I've heard of people cutting the Sumo Springs if there's not enough gap. So just call them and ask them, and I'm sure they'll be able to help you. If you have a lifted truck, I know that there are some options out there for a lifted truck, but I would call Sumo Springs and Timbren to see which option would be best for you, or some air springs. So just if you have a lifted truck, just do a little bit more research and see if there's options. I don't have a lifted truck, so I'm not exactly sure of all the options that are available for you. But I know that they're out there. I didn't actually get the Sumo Springs to raise the back end of the truck. Let me turn you guys up. So whenever you buy your pickup truck, or if it's not been altered from the factory, it has this rake to it. And so the front end is actually a little bit lower by about an inch or two than the back end. This is a design of the functionality of the truck. A lot of people like to put a 2-inch lift on the front, which is fine, whatever you want to do to your truck, but I'm just explaining to you that having a rake is built into the truck. So whenever you put a load in the back, or you put a trailer on the back of the truck, the back end will sink down and the truck will be level then. So basically your truck was designed to be level when under load. So if you put a 2-inch lift on the front and don't do anything to the back, then whenever you're under load, you're actually kind of doing the Carolina squat thing just a little bit. So I didn't do that to actually take that away, but whenever my truck is level under load, it's engaging the Sumo Springs. And so let me get you under here so you guys can kind of see. There they are. You can kind of see the Sumo Spring, how it sits above the rear axle. And so just over normal bumps and oscillations in the road, the normal suspension travel, you're not going to have any problems. It's not going to bump into it. Now if you sun's kind of crazy right now. Now if you hit a big pothole, then you will engage those just a little bit, and it is what it is. As far as the Timbrens are concerned, they are very strong. So if you put Timbrens on a half-ton truck, they could ride a little rough whenever they're under load. Whenever I'm towing the trailer, the load is perfect on this truck. The rear end doesn't walk around. It's not hitting too hard. The 1,000 pounds is perfect for my tongue weight and working with the existing rear suspension on the truck. So there's really no need to go up any higher than 1,000 pounds unless you're going to be carrying like a truck bed camper, or you're going to be doing a fifth wheel or a gooseneck. Now, I've got plans to purchase a gooseneck later this year. Actually, it's going to be in 2024 now, so I'm going to be purchasing a gooseneck, a small gooseneck, so nobody lose their mind. But we're going to be purchasing a small gooseneck trailer. That's my plan anyway. And I'm going to put a fifth wheel rails in the truck and use one of those gooseneck plates for it. I've got a friend who pulls a fifth wheel as well, so it'd be nice to have rails so that in case there's an emergency or something like that, and his truck breaks down and we're away on a trip, we at least have some way to move the trailer around if needed. And of course, down the road, who knows, I might end up with a fifth wheel one day. That is a big beast, that big travel trailer that we pull. But anyway, I'm getting a little wordy. Sorry about that. As far as the Timbrens are concerned, they're much stronger than the Sumo Springs. That is beyond a doubt true. So even the strongest Sumo Springs, which for heavy duty trucks, they make them in a yellow. I think they're rated at 5,000 pounds. I would probably buy those for most fifth wheels that are out there. They just are going to offer a little bit softer ride than the Timbrens. It's going to be just fine for most people. Those would be just fine. The Timbrens are great. So here's a little tidbit I learned from somebody. You do this at your own risk. I'm just going to tell you what a buddy of mine did. He had a Ford Ranger, an OG Ford Ranger. So we're talking like the small truck from the 90s, 80s and 90s. And what he did is he actually towed a very small fifth wheel with his Ranger. And he used Timbrens, but the Timbrens were too stiff for his application. So he actually cut the sides of them to kind of weaken them just a little bit. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm not suggesting you do that. I'm just saying if you want to, you can research that, see if that's an option for you. Timbren on their website does not advocate that. That's what he did. He had great success with it. So my disclaimer is, if you do that, you're doing it at your own risk. You could destroy your springs, and I'm sure you destroy the warranty. But as far as Timbren, the company, they seem like a good company. A lot of people have a lot of good service from them. It was mostly a case of the right application for the job. And I like respectful competitors, respectful competition, telling the truth about your competitors. I think it's just the higher road to go. So Sumo Springs won my business. They're all about the same price. You're going to, in the $200-300 range for any of them. We're getting really dark. So you're going to be in the $200 to $300 range for any of them, whatever you go with. If you go with airbags, you're going to be in the $500 to $1,000 range, depending on if you go with a manual pump or if you go with like an air pump, onboard air pump. That's a great option too. My buddy's got the airbags, and they work great for him. So there's a lot of different options, a lot of different ways you can do it. But if you're interested in the Sumo Springs, I've been totally satisfied with these things. They made a world of difference in just the handling, the stability of the rear axle whenever I'm towing my trailer. So We may be upgrading those to 1,500 pounds if I do get the gooseneck next year. So more information will come on that. If you're interested in the Sumo Springs, I'll put a link to the springs that I bought. It's an affiliate link from Amazon. I'll put that link in the description below. If you don't have a truck like mine, mine's a 19 to 24 Silverado. You can still click on that link and then just use your tool finder or find parts that fit my truck feature on Amazon to get those, or you can order them directly from Sumo Spring. It's totally up to you. And I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. I hope you got a little something out of this video. Take care.